Hey, here for another episode of Overtime. I'm Jason Overman. My helper Savannah has disappeared on me, so I'm going to be flying solo on this episode. This episode may seem a little silly, but I've learned over the past years that you can assume that folks know simple things, but sometimes they don't. And one of those things is making sweet tea. I hear a lot of people say, oh, you can buy it cheaper than you can make it, and we're going to bust some myths today and show you how I make my sweet tea personally. I get a lot of compliments on my tea when folks come over to the house. For one reason, mine's not super over-the-top sweet, so we're going to share a couple things here and show you how to make some southern sweet tea. So step one is, this is a 2.5 quart pot. I put about 1.5 quarts of water in it if you need numbers, just halfway. It's no real science to it. You get it to a rolling boil. I prefer Louisiana sweet tea. This is original. I also make the decaf. I make it the exact same way. I like the decaf in the evening times because caffeine will keep me up if I drink caffeine too late. Sometimes we're eating supper at 8 o'clock. So, we're going to make the original today. I'm going to be making a gallon of tea. For a pitcher or a half gallon, you use 2 tea bags. For a gallon, you use 3. You simply pull the tabs. Pull them off. You just want to tie all 3 strings into a knot. Pull them tight. Okay? Some people say, oh, you need 4 tea bags. I'm just telling you, both my grandmas, my in-laws, everybody that I know that makes tea, they simply use 3 bags per gallon. You can spread them up a little bit if you want to. Doesn't make a whole lot of difference to me. So I bounce them around until they sink down in there. I'll let that come to a slow rolling boil. You don't want it to get too hot because your bags will bust. Once it comes to a slow rolling boil, as it is right now, I'm going to turn this down about 2 and let her simmer. So my next step, you can get these on Amazon. Takes you back to Grandma's house way back in the day. Old school Tupperware tea pitchers, gallon. Just got mine not long ago and I love it. Beats the cheap ones that you get, and when you actually pour, it's got a spout on it that it actually hits the glass. It doesn't run down the side like these cheap ones. Okay, so I'm going to make it my standard way when I've got family over. This is a half cup. I'm going to put 1 cup of sugar in my pitcher. No water, just sugar's in there. All right, now I'm going to break this down for you. Calculations might be incorrect, but based on 1 cup of sugar, 773 calories, it's 200 grams of sugar. Alright, so we're going to break this down for 16 ounces. That's 16 ounces of tea, that's not including ice. Okay, so the cups that you're using per gallon, I got it broke down to a half cup, 1 cup, and 2 cups. Okay. This is how I make it for myself when I'm at home. I just use a half a cup. It's very lightly sweetened tea. It's just a way for me to help cut calories. If you start at 1 cup and work your way down to a half slowly, you'll get really used to it and it doesn't bother you anymore. It's not as sweet as what most people would like. All right. So at a half a cup, got 5 grams of sugar. It's about 48 calories. 1 cup. This is what we're going to be making today. This is kind of your standard semi-sweet tea. 10 grams of sugar, around 100 calories. Okay. If you go 2 cups, this is where you're getting more into Chick-fil-A, McDonald's sweetness. They actually have a little more than that in them. You just keep going up. 20 grams of sugar, 200 calories per cup. All right, now on to the myth busting part. I hear a lot of people say, oh, I just buy my tea. I can buy it cheaper than I can make it. Hear that all the time. Well, I make my money at work. I save my money on overtime. So we named the channel that. Cooking meals, making tea, fixing my own vehicles, doing my own home maintenance. That's what this channel's all about. I'm going to break down the myth here for you. Alright, we'll start with the sugar. 4 pounds of sugar is around $5. And that's Dixie Crystals. That's not Walmart. That's not Food Line, cheap brand. That's name brand. That's $1.25 a pound. There's about 2 1/4 cups per pound. So we're just going to break it down to 2 cups. That's 63 cents per cup of sugar. On to the tea bags. They're about $2 1/4 for 24 tea bags. That breaks down to 10 cents per bag. 3 bags per gallon. That is 30 cents worth of tea bags per gallon of tea. I've been wanting to use this little symbol since like 2nd grade. Miss Matthews be proud of me. Less than $1 a gallon to make sweet tea at home. You can't buy it for that at Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, the grocery store. This is where you get some savings. And what really gets to me is when I go to a restaurant. I went to a Mexican restaurant the other day in Wilson, North Carolina. Paid $3.49 for my tea. My lunch special was $7.99, but then the tea was $3.50. Just blows my mind what restaurants charge for tea and how cheap it is to make. They're making their money on drinks. So here's the breakdown. So don't let anybody tell you that you can buy it cheaper than you can make it, because I promise you can't. Now we're back to the stove. This tea has been steeping for about 10 minutes, just kind of a slow boil. Now if you're wondering what kind of sugar I use, I prefer Dixie Crystals makes a less processed sugar. Not sure if you can see it in there. It's not pure white, but just one of those less processed things I have purchased over time, and it seems to taste the same, so why not use it? So I take my tea bags out with my old wooden spoon. Now I'm going to lightly squeeze them into my tea jug. Not too hard, because you will bust them. Nobody wants tea grinds all in their tea. Alright, so now your sugar's in there. Remember that. We're going to pour straight out of the pot into there. So now that hot water is melting our sugar. One thing, you go to restaurants and you get tea and you got sugar floating in the bottom. It's because they just pour the sugar in while it's cold. Alright, so now I can let this sit and cool on the counter. This is what I typically do. Then I fill her on up to the gallon mark, or you can do it right now. However you want to do it. Alright. There we have it. 1 gallon of sweet tea for less than $1. Please share our videos, like and subscribe if you will. Bring more money saving tips and more recipes, more shop fixes, more action on overtime.